In this recording, I'm going to hit the highlights of things that are new or we haven't done recently in Excel, just to help you make sure you get on the right track. So I'm on page 4 where the instructions start. I have opened up a new workbook. I'm ready to import the site statistics text file. So I'm going to the Data tab, Get External Data from Text. I browse. I know that I saved it on my desktop. Double click to open it. And you see images of what the screens are going to look like when we go through this. So the screen 1 is delimited text, that's fine. Screen 2 is tab delimited, that's fine. And it says, as we go back to step 2, it says, if the columns line up nicely, that's good. We hit next and we just finish. Going to start in A1. That's a good place to start pasting that data. All right, that's as easy as it is in order to get text data into your workbook. I've saved my workbook and we're going to format the entry and exit columns. So the easiest way to do that is to select both F and G on the Home tab, Custom. Let's pick Custom. We are looking for a format that shows the date followed by the time. Let's see, I've got the wrong one selected here, so let's try this again. Month, day, year, hours, and minutes. That's what I want. All right, now that looks like it's supposed to. We are ready to add a column as the leftmost column. So I go over here to A, I right click, insert, and this is going to be called visitor number. So I have my column heading, and you're going to put in the value for the first 2 rows. So I want 1, 2. Now, in order to extend that series, I can highlight both A2 and A3, use the fill handle, and drag it down. It will automatically number these for me. And your last one should be the number 93. Next, I'm going to add a column to the right of the exit, and I'm going to call this visit duration. And it's going to be just the difference between the exit time and the entry time. It's just subtracting just like you would any other set of numbers. So it's going to be equal to H2 minus G2. Hit enter. Now, instead of being the month, day, year plus hours, I want this to be formatted as hours, minutes, seconds. If I format this first before I drag it down, then I can use my fill bar, drag it down to the bottom of my data. And I missed one, so I'll just drag it one more. And everything is formatted the way it should be. Next, you're going to be adding 3 summary tables to the bottom or below the raw data. I've gone ahead and just put these in here because I'm sure you can type in these numbers for headings and row headings and column headings and titles and format and so on. What's important, or what we need to talk about, is the formulas for calculating the values that show up here. I'm going to demonstrate how I did calculations for the visit duration, mean, median, maximum, and minimum. I'm sure then you can do that for the bandwidth and the viewed pages as well. I try to copy and paste as much as I possibly can. So I'm going to start first of all with the calculation for the mean, which equals average. I use my left parentheses, and then I'm going to do the, go over here to this column, I'm going to highlight my range of values for the visit duration. And I made this absolute for a reason, because I'm going to copy this formula down, and then I can change the actual function that's happening, or the formula that's happening. So instead of average, I can type in median, I can type in max, I can type minimum very easily. This is already formatted the way I want it. If I just use the fill handle and drag it down, I say here, now instead of average, I want median, and I hit enter, it calculates that. Now instead of average, I want max, and instead of average, I want min. That's the way that I like to do this. Next, we want to show how many people added Marks Collectibles as a favorites to their links by month and in total. So first we need to make sure that we sort the data by date. I'm going to go over here to K94, which is the very last cell in my data. And I want to select through the column headings. I'm going to now sort this by the field called entry. That way it gets them in date order, and we're certain about that. Now that we have the data sorted, I'm going to take advantage of the note that's at the very top of page 7. A quick way to define a range name is to use the Formulas tab, define name, and I'm going to call this Jewel Fave, and I can then select, by clicking that box, I can scroll up and select the cells that I want, and OK. I'm going to scroll this down so that I can see the last date in August. I'm going to do the same thing. Aug Fave. Click on that little box. Scroll up, make sure I get all of my July dates. Another way you can do this is through the name manager as well. As with everything with Microsoft, there's multiple ways to do it. So now you see the 2 that I've just added. In addition, I can also add a new one here, and this is going to look just like the define name does, Sep Fave. Again, I'm going to select my range of cells that I want included in that name range, and OK. So now you see I've got my 3 favorites. I'm going to use the COUNTIF function to see how many times a visitor did add it to their favorites. So I'm looking first for July, equal COUNTIF, open my parentheses, and it tells me first of all the range. Now I'm going to just type in my name of the data range, Jewel Fave. And what's the criteria? We are looking for a response of yes. Now because it's a literal, it has to be in quotation marks. So I quote, yes, end quote, close my parentheses, and hit enter. It says that there were 5 that added it to favorites. I'm going to, because I like to copy and paste, I can copy this down. Now I go up and change it. Instead of a response of yes, I'm looking for the number of no's for that semester or that month. And this cell is going to simply be a sum of the 2 cells above it. So you can always double check and make sure. So it says that I had 29 visitors in July. 5 of them added, 24 did not. So if I go up here to the bottom of my July, you'll see that there were 29 visitors in July. So I'm able to double check that as well. You can do the same thing for August and September. Do your calculations of sum in the total column, and I'll be right back. We are now at number 3 on page 7, just below figure 7. It's talking about, we want to see now how many the count and viewed pages we've got. We're going to use the count A function. What that does is it looks at a range of cells or a individual series of cells to see if there's anything there. And since we already have used a name range for July, August, and September on whether they added it as a favorite link, we can use that. So we want to count A to see if there's a value in Jewel Fave. And we have 29 there. Same thing for August and September. Now the total viewed pages is going to be a little bit different calculation. I've already set up 3 more name ranges. It suggests that you use new name ranges for the values in the column called viewed pages here in column K. So I did something very similar. I set up a name range for the July entries in that column, and you'll see I called that Jewel View. I did the same thing for August and for September. That means for the total number of viewed pages for July, I can use my sum function, and in this case I'm going to use Jewel View in order to get the total number of pages viewed in the month of July. Do the same thing for August and September and calculate totals. Now we're ready to go with pivot table, pivot chart. I know you've done this before, but let me walk you through the first one. There's more detail also on page 8 of the instructions to try to get you started. First, we want to select the range. So I'm going to select A1 through K94. That's my entire range. I'm going to insert pivot chart and pivot table. It says this is the range I've selected. I'm going to put it on a new worksheet. So for the first one, I want to see the operating system. So I'm going to check that. It's going to put it down here in the axis. I want also to see the visit duration. Now I'm going to drag this over to the sum or values. It defaults to count. If I click on that down arrow and find value field settings, I want to talk about averages instead. I do have to format this so that I make sure that I get the right number. And again, that was hour, minute, second, second. All right, here's one. I'm going to drag it up here so that my chart is next to it. I'll close that window just to make sure there's a little extra space. Visit duration by operating system. All you're going to do is keep doing the same procedures to do your pivot tables, pivot charts for the other 2 options, which is one by connection and one by browser. You're just going to put it on this same sheet so that all 3 are on the same. Information and instructions talks about formatting, and you also have screen captures showing what your pages should look like when you get all done. I hope this is helpful, and if you have any questions, please ask.